at Metropole TVKE across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. Let's get talking this morning. I officially welcome you to our Tuesday broadcast. If you're just joining us this morning, this is your official sector trends. This is an introduction, therefore. Now, with people still binging on the pandemic and the budget, the taxman's time is now. That time to file your returns, by the way, and a lot of education on what each tax law means is what you need to know so that you don't step out when you're filing your returns. Today, we understand rental income tax, and we're joined by WANG'ONDU, who's a tax expert, KRA Domestic Taxes Department. WANJA, good morning.
Good morning.
I gotta say this, it's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you.
We have tried. Was it for the better part of last week, isn't it?
Yes.
To get you, but finally you're here. Let's get talking about it.
Yes.
I think the first question, and a lot of people really towards the year end for filing returns, that's when you get a lot of these questions, and today we want to do that proper masterclass for anybody who's watching you this morning. And I would deviate a little bit, because then once we run the poster, we have a lot of questions now that are not necessarily on rental income, as guys are trying to think about how to get the filing of the returns. Good. Let's start with rental income though. Who is supposed to pay rental income?
Now, in our country, the persons who earn rental income,
Yes.
may be from residential premises, commercial properties as well, and even the persons who have let out their land for maybe masks have been put on the given land,
Yes.
and there is the rental income that you are getting. That is the person that we are talking to this morning, because there is a tax to each one of them.
Yes.
Now, the question at hand is, what tax is to who? So if we now look at it that way, this that person whose property is purely 100% residential,
Yes.
they just earn residential rental income. For that person, they have a simplified tax regime for them, and they pay 10% of the gross rent that they receive.
Isn't it?
Every month.
It is 10% on the gross that we receive each month.
Yes, every month.
Even if you don't get your proceeds as you were expecting, you are not essentially supposed to file as per the units available. It is on the rent that you receive.
Exactly. So for this, in fact, rental income is the only kind of income that recognizes how much you received.
That's it.
You only pay tax on it,
Yes.
as per the money that you received.
Yes.
So here we are saying, do you have 10 houses, and in a given month only 6 were occupied? So when you are at the end of the month, you will compute, you will find out the rent that you received from the 6 houses.
Yes.
And then you will get a 10% of that.
Yes.
That is all that you pay. So for the unoccupied houses, and even for a house that's occupied, and maybe the tenant didn't pay in the given month, you are not obligated to pay for that.
Yes.
You're obligated to pay for the money that you received. So that's one regime, whereby we are saying, if your properties are purely residential and you are in the monthly rental income tax regime,
Yes.
you pay 10% of the gross rent that you have received on or before the 20th of the following month.
Yes.
So meaning, what you receive in the month of June, you need to pay tax on it on or before the 20th of July. So a scenario whereby in a given month, maybe you just have one house, and in a given month you did not have a tenant.
Yes.
Then you will file a nil return, because you did not receive any.
You didn't get any profit from your
Yes.
business, isn't it? Yes.
Yes.
Because you're paying per unit of the amount received.
Yes.
Fantastic.
For the rental income.
For the rental income, yes.
And then now we get to the other regime. There are 2 regimes,
Yes.
as we had said. One is the one for every month, and that one we have said it's purely for the persons with residential premises or properties. Then we have the other one. The other one, we call it the annual regime. That is now, it falls under income tax. So what we are saying, are you there and you are a property owner,
yes,
and you do not belong to this regime that you pay every month, If you don't belong to that one, then you will be in the one that you pay every quarter. It's the one that's called annual regime.
Yes.
Now, realize this. For persons whose residential income is below 24,000 in a month or 288,000 in a year, or above 15 million in a year, or the persons who are non-residents, who own the property are non-residents, or for people with commercial properties, they belong to this annual regime, the one that we are saying that we pay the tax per quarter, every quarter, every quarter. And at the annual regime, we pay tax at, that is now, it's at the graduated scale rate for individuals.
Yes.
And for companies, it's at the corporate rate, which is 30% now for companies. And we pay tax at, so like if it's a company, it's 30% of the profits.
It's 30%
of the profits. Now you see the difference?
That is also apply for
individuals.
For individuals as well. Yes.
Now the only difference is all individuals are taxed on graduated scale rates.
Yes.
Now those are the rates applying even for people in employment.
I see.
Where we say the first 24,000 is at 10%. The next 8,333 is at 25%.
Yes, yes.
And anything above 32,000 is at 30%.
30%.
So that's still applying now for individuals.
So the ceiling for this annualized regime is at 30%.
Yes, it is.
Can we go through the other scales you talked about? I know you spoke about 15 million.
Yes.
You also spoke about what?
Yeah. So now we are saying, for you who has residential properties,
yes,
and your rental income falls between 24,000 in a month to 15 million in a year.
To 15 million in a year.
Yes. You belong to this residential rental income tax.
Yes.
Where you pay 10% of the gross rent in a month.
In a month.
In a month.
Yes.
Now, if then you don't belong now to this class now.
Yes.
That's where you now in the one form in the annual regime,
yes,
where you pay in installments. So that is the difference.
Do you get to choose? Because either way, you can even under monthly payment or this annualized regime, you can still belong either way, because this month I can get this much, next month or this other month I can actually get more between this 24,000 and 15 million.
No. The choosing between the regime that you belong to should happen at the beginning of the period.
I see. Yes.
So that means check your properties and see. When you are determining the regime to belong to, you look at the gross rent that you will receive with full occupancy.
Yes.
But if in the course of the period we do not have the full occupancy, then you are only paying tax on the money that you are receiving.
Yes.
So in choosing the regime, you choose at the beginning of the period.
Yes.
So if in the given period you are in the monthly regime, then you remain in that regime, even if your rental income is below that money.
I see.
But if you happen to sell the property, you are not obligated to remain with that tax obligation. You can remove it.
Yes.
If you happen to sell the property.
Yes.
Because again, tax always follows an income. Where there is no income, no basis for taxation. So what we are saying is this: if at the beginning of the period you compute and you know fairly well that your properties and they are residential will be bringing you maybe 2 million in the given year, then you know that you belong to the residential rental income tax. But still, if you opt not to be in the monthly regime, it's still within the law. You notify the commissioner in writing and say, I have this property, though I belong in this regime, I opt to be in the annual one.
In the annual one, where you file quarterly, isn't it?
No, filing is once in a year.
It's once in a year.
Yes, filing is once in a year. But the payment of the taxes is what you pay in installments.
I see now.
If you're in the annual regime.
Yes, if you're in the annual regime and you pay them quarterly, isn't it?
You pay quarterly.
Yes, as opposed to paying monthly for this other regime as well, which is monthly based.
Yes.
Fantastic. Now, let's create then a distinction, because you can also hear me make that mistake.
Yes.
That there is payment and then there is filing.
Yes.
Wanja, you might think that most people understand that, but then you find that most of them are waiting for the end of that year, that when you're filing is when you're also paying. And you might find that they are getting at loggerheads with this one. So what is this distinction?
Thank you, Elijah, for the question. In fact,
yes,
I know very many Kenyans.
Yeah, isn't it? I would just wait for when I'm filing, that's when I pay, isn't it?
Yes. So now, you notice,
yes,
filing is basically making a declaration
uh-huh,
of your income
yes,
for the given year.
Yes.
And the filing for individuals and corporates, we are required to file at least 6 months after the end of the accounting date.
Yes.
Now, you realize that for individuals and partnerships, our year ends on that 1st December. So that means we should file our returns on or before the 30th of June. Also, there are corporates whose year end on 30th of June, 30th of December.
Yes.
For those corporates as well, they ought to file the returns on or before the 30th of June.
Yes.
So the filing of returns is at least 6 months after the end of the accounting date. What about the payment of the tax?
Yes.
And remember here, the year that we are talking about is the year 2020.
It's actually 2020.
That was last year.
Yes. That
we are
was
talking about last year's
yes.
incomes.
Yes.
So for individuals, remember, we should pay the taxes in the course of the year.
Yes.
And in case the taxes that we paid in the course of last year were not in full, that balance of tax, we ought to pay it on or before the 30th of April. So the tax was due on or before the 30th of April this year.
Yes.
That was the balance of tax for last year.
Yes.
But the returns are due on or before the 30th of this month. So that is the difference.
That's the difference.
So now what happens if this person comes to file today?
And says, well, I want to pay all of it today.
Yes. So that would mean
yes,
there's a small, you'll be penalized.
For failing to
pay the tax on
when
time.
they were due, isn't
yes.
it? Yeah.
And the late payment penalty is 5% of the taxes that you are supposed to pay.
Yeah.
So any tax you fail to pay by the due date will be attracting a late payment penalty of 5%.
I was waiting for you to say, oh, whatever is higher.
No.
Under that circumstance.
That is 5% only.
That's just 5%.
Yes, and in addition,
yes.
there's also an interest of 1%.
Of 1%.
Yes.
That's 1% on the principal that you're supposed to pay.
Yes.
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 As opposed to the taxes themselves, isn't it?
No.
This 1%, how does it? Because there's a 5% penalty that you get
yes.
on the taxes that you're supposed to pay.
Yes.
So the 1%, what does it apply again?
Yes, it's on the principal.
Oh, it's on the principal.
Penalties
yes.
do not earn interest.
Yes,
yes,
it's just a principle.
Yes, it's
fantastic.
a principle.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Good. I'm going to ask you this question again. That rental income for some time now, up to around 2018, 2019, that's when we started to see it pick up, was a big challenge to the taxman. We've seen that. You look at that data, you'll start to see that it started picking up late 2018, and 2019, 2020, 2021, it looks to really be now a major contributor to the taxes that KRA is getting. What happened differently within that region from 2018 up to where we are right now?
Okay. So you basically realize we doubled.
Yes.
We have doubled the money that we were collecting in the year 2016.
Yes.
For rental income.
Yes.
And what has caused this doubling of the monies, all of our collections, is number one, many of the Kenyans have become aware of their tax obligations.
You're saying that civic education has been really on point?
Yes. You notice that very many people who had the properties,
yes,
majority felt, when I got my retirement money, that's when I put up this building.
That's it.
Or I put up this building with my savings.
Yes.
And you had taxed those savings. So, but now people have come to learn that at this point, when you invest the income,
yes,
it ceases from being the income that you received and had already been taxed, and it becomes a separate income,
yes,
because you are now earning from the investments that you have put. Now, in addition to that, we have data. We have got data from various bodies,
yes,
from various government bodies, and we are now able to tell Elijah owns these 5 properties.
Isn't it? And the syncing of that data,
yes,
is it watertight, Wanja, to the point that nobody can escape that umbrella of being a property owner somewhere? What are you syncing it with? Or that is information
No.
they may want to divulge?
We have data
Yes.
from various points.
Oh, okay.
And so the data from the owner of the land,
Yes.
the data from the permits that you
Yes.
got in
I
construction,
see now.
the data from power,
Yes.
water,
Yes.
you know, all that data. So now, you realize that the data we have, we may still be having a small, but a very small percentage that we are still pursuing. Reason being, in Kenya, we still have that aspect of Elijah may be here, you are the person who helped in constructing your parents' house,
Yes, yes.
your parents' house. I mean, there are
Yeah.
about 4 properties
Yes.
that would be having your name.
Yes.
Because maybe your parents or your glad parents, even when you tell them, give me your ID so that I go sort you out in your house,
They don't
have
have it.
issues.
Yeah, they don't have it.
Or
Yeah.
they even don't understand what
Yes,
that means.
yes.
So for such cases, we would get such cases whereby we have the data showing that Elijah has 3 properties. And you know, we are saying you live in one. So you ought to, you're earning rental income from the other 2. But you come out strongly and you bring the facts that for this one, it's your parents who are staying here.
Yes.
And for this other one, it's your glad parents who are staying there. And so when such issues are ironed out, as I said earlier, rental taxes follow an income. So then it basically means, yes, you have those properties, but you're not earning the income.
Yes.
Yes. So in such cases, we clear them out.
Pretty much.
Yes. But
Yes.
I wish to let all Kenyans know, we have the voluntary tax disclosure program that's underway.
Yes.
And what this program is basically saying is, do you have an income that you did not declare between 2015 to 2020? You have a window to do that declaration from January to December of this year. If you do that declaration and pay that tax, you get 100% waiver on interest and penalties.
Pretty much.
So I think this is the right time for us to come out in big numbers and do a declaration of that income that we had never declared.
Pretty much.
Yes.
All right. Now, this is to the questions that are not necessarily related to rental income. Now, we do know that we have just slightly over a week for everybody who has not filed their returns to actually file their returns. Questions are coming up now. And this is a direct question that I need you to respond to. They've said that if you are employed and you have a side hustle, that you've been paid and somebody gives you that withholding tax certificate that you're supposed to use now to declare that I was paid at this period. How do you go about filing that? Because they're saying, well, harmonizing that on the portal sometimes becomes a challenge if you're supposed to file within the same day. Yes.
Okay, wow. Now, first and foremost, I want to say thank you to Kenyans. 4 million have filed.
Already.
By Monday,
Yes.
3.9 million had filed.
So the 100,000 have been between those 2 days.
Yes, I can
What
tell
are you
by-
targeting? What is the target?
Our target is 5.5 million.
5.5 million.
Yes, yes.
So the 1.5 are gonna come in between this period.
Yes.
I remember last year I spoke to you, by the way, as we we're gonna clear this filing process. Did you hit the target? I think I should have started from that.
No, we missed a bit.
By what?
The people who filed on time,
Yes.
we missed by 200,000. We were expecting 4.6.
That's a
we
lot.
got 4.4.
That's 4.4.
Yeah, but
yes.
by closing, up to now,
Yes.
the 4.6 have actually
The
filed.
4.6
Yes,
have
the
already
holiday,
filed.
Yes. But by the ones who filed on time were 4.4.
4.4.
Yes, so for this year, it's 5.5, and by Monday we were at 3.9.
Are
So-
you optimistic that this?
Yes.
Yes.
We have seen by the last days, some
Yes.
of the days we have done up to 300,000. So there's so much hope.
Hopefully.
Yes.
I've already filed, so I'm part of that.
You're part of that?
Yeah, I'm part of that 4.6.
Well
yes.
done. So now,
Yes.
let's look at the question at hand. There are some people who still believe that the people who should be filing are the ones who have employment income. Anybody who has a taxable income ought to file. And where we are at today, are you there and you have a PIN number Maybe last year you had a taxable income,
Yes.
but this year you don't have a taxable income. Imagine the taxman is still expecting you to declare, because you see, where the taxman is seated, we are not able to tell you had the income last year and you don't have that income this year.
Yes.
So if that's the case, you are required to file if you have income tax obligation.
Yes.
Anybody with an income tax obligation ought to file. So if there is no income, do the nil.
Yes.
If there is an income, declare as
Yes.
it is.
Yes.
So now we talk about this person who has employment income.
And
your employer gives you
Yes.
the P9.
Yes.
And in addition,
You have
a side hustle.
That's it.
So there are two ways to look at it.
Yes.
Number one, is the side hustle incorporated? If the side hustle is operating as a limited company, then it will file its return independent of you as an individual.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about now the side hustle that's under your PIN number.
Yes.
So, you did this side hustle and you got to one of the persons you offered the service to or you delivered the goods to, there's a withholding to that effect.
Yes.
And withholding will mainly come because of a service that you offered.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't have withholding income tax for goods.
Yes.
It's for services.
It is for the services.
So when you offered this service, you were paid, and let me assume it was a professional service that you offered.
Yes.
So a 5% was deducted from you because you are a resident and you are paid 95%. So remember what we said earlier, for individuals, we are taxed on the graduated scale rate.
Yes.
So what this means, from employment, my employer actually deducted as per the graduated scale rate.
Yes.
But from the side hustle, only 5% has been deducted. So what that means, remember we said the ceiling is 30%.
It's 30%, yes.
So what that means,
yes.
I'm still expected to pay the 25%. So I'll come and start filing. And depending on what I earned, is it business income, is it rental income, is it farming income?
Yes,
is
and
it
there are those
commissioned?
options on the portal, isn't
Yes,
it?
they're there. All of them are there.
Yes.
So I'll put that income.
Yes.
So in this case, we are saying it's a side hustle. It's a business income money.
Yes.
So the business income, I will be required to prepare simple accounts. So remember, as a side hustle, it's a business.
Yes.
So I'll prepare simple accounts. I'll say what are my total sales, what were my cost of sales, any other expense that I had, I'll have that simple account.
Yes.
I'll also prepare a simple balance sheet. I may not be doing it in a big way, but even when I am doing this side hustle, there are key things I may need. Like I may need a good phone, a good laptop,
Yes.
or maybe there's an asset that I have bought. So those assets, we account for them in the balance sheet. So now, let's talk about now this, we have prepared the simple account and maybe we have prepared the simple balance sheet. And maybe the only asset I have is the good phone.
Yes.
So in my assets, it's the phone.
It's just the phone.
Which is of this money.
Yes.
That is the only asset I have.
Yes.
And maybe on the side of liabilities, because the balance sheet has the assets and the liabilities, maybe I bought this phone with a loan that I had borrowed. So my balance sheet is only having two items. That is an asset, which is the phone, and the loan for buying the phone, which is the same amount.
Yes.
Now, when I go now to filing, I will pick what is in the profit and loss account, and that is what I'll put under business income.
Yes.
And then once I'm done putting that, I'll put the balance sheet component, which are only two.
Yes.
That is the asset,
That's the asset
and the liability.
And the liability, yes.
But this does not apply to everybody. We're just now talking about this specific person.
Yes.
That's why we are saying once you have your profit and loss account and once you have your balance sheet, the details that are there are the ones that you're transferring to the income tax returns
Yes.
that you're filing.
Pretty much.
And then after that, the details that are on your P9,
Yes.
that is the tax deduction card that the employer gave you, is what you'll put under the employment income.
Yes.
Now, once you're finished inputting all that, in the last sheet, you'll be able to put the pension, the personal relief, which applies to everybody, every resident person.
Yes.
And then the withholding tax that was already deducted on you will be appearing there.
Pretty much.
So at that point, you just need to submit, and it will be able to tell, the system will compute for you and tell you the taxes
Yes.
that you now ought to pay.
Pretty much.
And you file the return and now pay that tax. Remember that the tax we are saying you ought to have paid on or before the 30th of April.
Pretty
So
much.
Now,
Yes.
Though you'll pay it now, it will have that penalty because you failed to, you're failing it late. There's the 5%.
Yes. All right. Another question that we went into as well, a case of two employers, all right? The people who are, what do I file the two? Do I just file one? Guys who have two P9 forms. But you find that your other employer probably pays you once a year, which is totally fine. And you have this regular employer who pays you each month. So when you go to the portal, do you do the first filing with your first P9 form, put it on the side, and then start with your second? In that scenario, what happens when you're employed by two employers who are paying you and have already deducted your payment and already showed that they paid your tax on that payment, and the only thing you're supposed to do is declare that indeed this is exactly what happened for my employer? So do you file twice? Yes.
So where you have more than one employers,
yes,
so that means you have the main employer and the part-time, you will have the tax deduction cards from them.
Yes.
And so filing, you'll do it once. The only thing you will do...
Yes, hold on.
Yes.
You only do once when you have two P9 forms.
Yes.
All right? That's where the conversation point comes in. And what are you supposed to do then?
So now the two P9s, you will come and put the first one from the first employer.
Yes.
And once you're done inputting the details of the first employer, then you add the second employer.
I see now.
So you put the data from the first employer, then you add the second employer.
Yes.
Even if there are three, you add the third one.
Yes.
Even if there are four, you add the fourth one. So you add all of them in the income tax return that you're filing.
Yes.
You don't file twice, you file once.
You file once.
Yes.
Keep on adding.
Yes, you keep on adding all the employers.
And the system is going to recognize that and also help you compute whatever places you're going to fill up in terms of that declaration, isn't it?
Once you declare one, you just add, and then you get the fields for putting the other one like that.
I see now.
And then at the end, the system will be able to compute the total taxes
pretty
that
much
are deductible.
Now, we're in a class. I'm just going to rush through this as well. Somebody's saying that once you're done filing the returns, let's understand those numbers, and then you find that you have a negative figure at the end of your returns. Some people get scared and say, wow, what does it mean? What does a negative number mean? People don't like negatives, they like positives. So let's understand what a positive and a negative means at the end of that filing process.
Well, quite interesting.
Yes.
Now, when you have a positive figure, it means you have some tax to pay.
I see.
When you have a negative figure, it means there's a possibility.
I like the way you're saying it. There's a possibility, because that's where my next question was coming from.
Yes.
There's a possibility that you have some money that the taxman owes you, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's talk about that then. Let's talk about that. Now, and this is what I asked you last year. I'm going to ask you again because I faced it as well. I get a lot of negatives. I mean, negatives are usually huge, and they've been accumulating over time. Now, what I know as a responsible taxpayer, once I see a negative, that is normally a hint for me to go in and ask for a tax refund. I want to ask you, Wanja, why is it very easy to file the returns, but very complicated to get a refund? And that's the question I asked you last year. Yes.
Wow. Let me first ask one question. The person asking this question, I'll first want to know, did they apply for the refunds?
Yes.
Because I want to make it very clear to my fellow Kenyans that the fact that you have a credit figure does not signal the taxman to bring back the money. Maybe you want to utilize that credit for another tax in future, you know. And also,
but I mean, you can utilize that credit. Probably if you get a fine, you can say, well, take my money out of the money that you owe.
Yes. Yes, you can do that. And then in addition to that, would be you have a credit figure, but there's a figure you missed out. You failed to include something. You get?
Yes.
So that's why it goes through a processing. An officer will check through when you apply for the refunds to see what is causing this. Because we have noted that there would be some people, the employer deducted, maybe you have more than one employer, and then you did a declaration just with one. So you see the other one already deducted and put the money. So when you file just for one, it will show you have a big credit. And it's because you failed to do a proper declaration. So those are some of the checks that we look into. Other cases would be, maybe the figure that you put for your mortgage interest or for your pension contribution or for your interest is not the correct amount. I mean, even for your insurance leave, maybe it's not the correct amount. So that once we subject it to the check, we are able to now confirm. It's called, we call it validate.
Yes.
We validate and find out for sure, this is the money that we ought to pay you. And by the way, we are paying. How I wish this one Kenyan who can just let
would come in like them and say, well, I applied for the tax refund and I didn't get it at all, isn't it?
No, yeah. I got it.
Yeah.
By the way, we have been paying the refunds big monies. What I know is we have doubled the monies that we are paying.
In terms of
we
tax
doubled
refunds.
what we paid last year.
Yes.
The other year we doubled what we paid the other year.
Yes.
We are actually paying out good money.
Yes.
So if you haven't received yours, find out why.
Find out why, apply, isn't it? Write via email,
yes,
isn't it?
Call center at kra.go.ke.
Yes, and say I've not got my tax refunds.
Yes,
despite going through the application process, isn't it?
Yes.
Pretty much.
There's a high possibility that that person who has not yet got, there's something the taxman asked them to do, and they have not yet done it. So do what you're asked to do. Maybe there's a document you're asked for.
Yes.
Send it, and you will be processed for your refunds.
Pretty much. Wanja, let's get back to that conversation that we started with and end it in 2 minutes if you may.
Okay.
Now, we do know what the COVID-19 pandemic has done, especially to livelihoods in Nairobi, and especially on that specific docket for rental income. We've seen a lot of shifts in between, people going back home, people moving up and down. Do you expect there's going to be a big hit in terms of the income that you're going to get from this rental income in a 2020, 2021? Or you're saying, but people are still within Nairobi. If they move, they're still within Nairobi, so it doesn't affect that much.
Wow. I know last year there was that movement that a number of people experienced.
Yes.
But, you know, you realize that things are a bit different when you come to notice that a number of people, despite maybe the loss of jobs and all that, have other incomes. A few moved, but a few maintained their status quo because they have other income.
Yes.
So, from the taxation point of view, I would say that for rental income is one of the taxes that was slightly affected.
Yes.
Yes, but for this year, things are back to normal. By the way, I would report for rental income. We have noted we've gone back to a steady. What we collected in January, February, we can tell there's a steady move.
Yes.
And there's some increase in that rental,
pretty much,
in that tax.
Maybe good news for the economy, isn't it?
For others, there are a few taxes that would be affected.
Yes.
But for the rental income, no. For value-added tax, we feel the effect.
Yes.
But for the rental income, we are doing well. And I urge all other Kenyans, let's take up the voluntary tax disclosure program. Let's not think that since our property is in the village of villages, that the taxman will not know.
They will not.
Remember what I told you, that we have the data and we can tell Elijah has this number of properties. So just come out and do the declaration.
Pretty much.
Because if it is us who will come to you to tell you that you are not,
you
have not been paid, then you will pay the penalties and interest in full. So come out and do that declaration voluntarily.
I can't say it any better. Yes, we'll be speaking to WANJA. We're going to do this morning, just taking us through exactly what it is that you need to know as you file those returns. And the question I ask you, have you filed or you're waiting for that 5% penalty? Remember, there's also an interest again. Just get filing. My name is Elijah Charles Kiege. We take a short break here on A Business. And once we come back, what are the biggest business headlines are you waking up to this morning right here at a Metropole Television? Good morning.